This episode of Film Riot is brought to you by Domain.com.
Today on Film Riot, we get a little creepier than usual.
Her glittery dress flutters in the wind as she flies through the night. To every child, the fairy of dreams is coming to you. The fairy of dreams is always with you. The fairy of dreams flies through the night. She flies through your window and holds you so tight. How sweet she can be, how lovely she smiles. She stays with you in the night and holds you tight. The fairy of dreams is coming to you. The fairy of dreams is always with you. The fairy of dreams flies through the night. She flies through your window and holds you so tight. She flies through your window and holds you so tight.
Are you sure you guys are allowed to watch this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Logo.
Welcome to Film Riot, the show that takes the mystery out of the effects and techniques, go to some of your favorite Hollywood films. I'm your host, Ryan Conley, and I know a lot of you must be like, what the holy was that? Well, you're not alone. I showed that to my wife, and she giggled at first, but as the sketch went on, her expression turned to one of terror, with a hint of disgust, which, of course, led me to say, perfect. And now, if you're all wondering what the purpose of that video was, I shall now defer you to this email, which is subtitled for the hearing impaired. I have been doing some green screen shots, but they never come out as good as yours. Could you give some tips on the show that could help me better my keying skills? Hey man, I know how you feel. Keying can be a real bastard, a real son of a bee. So I shall honor this request with our top 10 tips for better green screening. Roll it, Dano!
Who's Dano?
Just roll it. And that is why we did the opener, because Bruno was obviously just on a green screen while flying around like a little fairy. So we're going to start at tip number 10 and then work our way down to number 1. So first up, tip number 10. Make sure you're using something that is distinctly green or blue. It's not just the color that makes it work, it's the luminance of that specific color. So it's better to get the proper chroma green or blue, whether it's a screen, blanket, or the chroma paint. This is the best way to do it. Now with that said, you can of course get a decent key from any color as long as it's contrasting from your foreground and well lit, which we have shown on the show before. But if you're looking to take keying to the next level, there you go. Tip number 9, have even colored green screen without creases, bends, or folds, which cause shadows. As an example, I purposefully left the thing beneath Bruno with creases and folds to create shadows to show you what sort of problems you will face when you have them. Below Bruno, you can see that the black areas are left and break the effect, and that is because we could not properly key it out since it wasn't a flat green. Tip number 8, which goes hand in hand with the last one, and that is your lighting of the green screen. You want this to be as even all the way across the screen as possible. Steer clear of any hot spots or shadows falling on your screen from the lights. The more of an evenly lit color you can get across the screen, the better your key will be. Tip number 7, get your actor a good distance from the screen to minimize the bounce you are going to get from the screen itself, meaning that green spill you get on your actor from the screen. This one can be a real killer and has ruined a fair share of shots for me. Tip number 6, masking. Most of the time when you're keying, you're also going to need to use your masking tool to key out unneeded extras, but also to minimize the screen size to what you absolutely need. That way you're using the least amount of green for your software to calculate, which the less it has to calculate, the better. Tip number 5, and this one is one that I'm often guilty of myself when on a super tight deadline. This is one that's easy to miss. Usually you'll want to add something like a simple matte choker, which will shrink whatever it is you are keying out. If you add just a little of this, it really goes a long way to help you get rid of artifacts, but don't cut too much into your subject or you're going to give them helmet hair. Leave a little bit of edging so that you have more to play with. And by helmet hair, I mean when their face and their hair looks unnaturally like boxy because you've actually cut into them instead of that extra artifacting that's just outside of the edge of them. Tip number 4, we talked about spill before, and keeping your actor away from the screen will help that, but oftentimes you still have a little bit. So to get rid of that spill, you can add a hue and saturation to your clip, then single out the green color you want to suppress, and then drop that saturation. Also, most plugins like Keylight and Primat have great controls for this as well, which is actually the better way to go if you do have those plugins. Tip number 3, light wrap is your friend, your best friend. What is light wrap? Basically, it is the act of taking a piece of what is directly behind the keyed subject and applying it to the edge of the mask. This helps give your subject the illusion that it's in the environment you're compositing into. My personal favorite keyer, which is Red Giant's Primat, actually has a really great tool for adding and controlling light wrap. Tip number 2, lighting and color correcting your subject. You need to know what environment you're going to be putting your subject into and what style you are going for. The closer you can match the lighting to the background, the better. And then once you've made your key, color correct your subject to match the background even further. We actually did a tutorial on how to do this, color correcting your foreground to your background, in this episode here. So click that. This. Right here. Click it. And for our final tip, tip number 1, when you are shooting, shoot at a faster shutter speed to minimize motion blur. When you have motion blur within the shot, it becomes mixed with your background and impossible to key properly, so you get stuff that looks like this. Obviously, you can't jack your shutter speed up to Saving Private Ryan levels unless that's what you're going for. Just find a good middle ground, and that will vastly improve all the motion in your key. But there you have it, our top 10 tips to better keying. I know most of these had a lot to do with the production side and not so much the post side, but production is the most important part. If it's not shot properly, no amount of digital trickery is going to get you a good key. So employ these techniques and take your keying to another level. Domain.com is owning the competition with cheap domain names and no hassle service, and our Film Riot army, as we told you many of times before, has been helping to make Domain.com one of the fastest growing registrars in the world. And that's because our people know that if you're making a website for your film or your production company or your new freelance project on the side, you have to create a website and you need a cool domain for that website, and the best place to get your domain is Domain.com. Domain.com's easy checkout process makes it simple to find your domain and set up your website without the hassle. Now, Domain.com's domain discovery system quickly shows you available names, making it easy to select your domain extension that's right for you. You use a .com or a .co. So basically what that does is if I'm trying to get my tryingfilms.com, which I already have, but if I was trying to get it, I would look for tryingfilms.com, and if that was taken, that's going to show me some really good alternatives, which is pretty freaking cool. It's like having a buddy help you pick your domain. Already have a domain somewhere else, that's fine. You can transfer to Domain.com for just $7.61 and get an extra year free. The guys at Domain.com are huge fans of Film Riot and want to hook up other Film Riot viewers. So use the coupon code FilmRiot and get 15% off your next domain purchase or transfer, which is only $6.47 for domain transfers. So I say jump on it. I've used a few domain companies, and this is by far the cheapest and the best. And if you have your own website or business, you know the pain of having to deal with the domain. So there you go.
Logo.
Hey, guess what? The episode is over, lady baby and fellow goats, but we're not done with the green screening process yet. Next time, I'm going to be showing you how to work my favorite plugin for keying, which is Red Giant's Primat. But until then, you can Twitter me here, right here, or my Facebookie, right here. Am I right? Yeah? Okay. I'll see you guys next time when I touch a basketball to be able to play like the pros.
Come on.
What's this movie about?
It's about Romeo and Juliet. It's about they don't like each other on the outside.
I don't like it.
Just don't watch it.
I don't.
And don't watch it.
You asked me to watch.